Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chana, this is Jar of Fireflies, and here I make videos all about my life as an Orthodox Jewish homeschooling mother of 3. And today I am going to be talking with you all about all of the major changes that we have made to our curriculum choices since the beginning of this school year. And in particular, that means the good and the beautiful. That's right, folks. We have made a ton of changes to our curriculum choices since this school year started. And I told you guys a while back that I would be talking to you guys about all of this, but I wanted to make sure we use the curriculum that we chose, the ones that we switched to, for a while before I came on and talked about it, because I wanted to make sure that I really liked this curriculum before I chose to share it with you. And I do. We have switched over to a lot of the good and the beautiful, and I'm going to get into all of this, like specifics, what was working, what wasn't working, and why we switched, and then what's working, like why I'm loving this so much more. All right. First of all, I do want to jump in though and say this video is sponsored by the good and the beautiful. However, all opinions are entirely my own. Okay, so let's jump back just for a quick recap. So we started out this year with a curriculum that we have been using for years. And we love this curriculum. It's a great curriculum. I still totally recommend it. But for me, I realized this wasn't going to work for our family after this school year started. I've got 2 kids now, a 1st grader and a 3rd grader. And so the kindergarten curriculum was very light and easy. But once you jump into these more like the grades, then it's a little bit more time consuming. And for me, I'm the kind of person, I want to do everything on the list. I want to check everything off. And this was not working. It was just too much for me to do with 2 kids. And the thought of a 3rd kid and a 4th kid jumping into the mix at some point was just completely overwhelming to me. And I knew it was not going to be sustainable for our family. So I started looking for alternatives. One thing that I was really hoping to do was to incorporate more subjects as a family. With a bunch of kids at all different levels, like how is this even possible? But I do know that people do it. So I discovered somewhere in my searches, the good and the beautiful. Now, the good and the beautiful is a Christian curriculum. So I had always kind of put off looking at the good and the beautiful because I didn't want a Christian curriculum. We are Jewish. We're not Christian. But it was kind of becoming a thing where like the curriculum that we had been using was a secular curriculum. And I had issues with secular curriculums also because there are things in secular curriculums that don't align with my worldview either. So I looked into the samples and things at the good and the beautiful and really dove into it and was like, you know what? This actually aligns with our worldview a lot better because it's a very God-focused curriculum. We're a very God-focused home. So like I can work with this. Does that mean it's perfect? No. But is it pretty darn close? Yes. So I took the plunge, I ordered a bunch of curriculum and kind of restructured how we were doing our day so that we had a lot more subjects together and just kind of went from there. It has shortened our school day significantly. It's made our day a lot easier to work with. And I love that we're doing more subjects together. I've always loved any subject that we can do together. And now that we're doing these core subjects like history together, oh my gosh, I just love it so much more. Okay, so let's dive into some of these individual choices that we have gone with. Okay, so to start with, our Judaic studies have stayed the same. Those have not changed at all. So anything from my previous curriculum video, which I will link to in the description box below, all of the Judaics have stayed the same. Those are working out great for our family. Okay, so let's start with history. History was a huge focus in our old curriculum, and that was something that I really loved about it. So I still wanted to keep a really strong history. And I wanted something that, again, that we could all do together. Enter the good and the beautiful history. So their history program is set over a period of 4 years, and then you can just cycle through and continue repeating each of these 4 years. And I've discovered it doesn't matter which year you start with. So we started actually with year 2. The way that each of their history years are structured are that they go through ancient history through modern history. But then each of the different courses, each of the 4 years that they cover, they're covering different material. So I really like that. I like that during the course of a year, we're getting through a full cycle of history. And then each year we're just introducing new things as we continue going through history again and again. To me, that gives a much more complete view of things. And the way that I had it before is I had like one kid was learning ancient history and one kid was learning American history. And it was like, why are we learning 2 totally different histories at the same time when we could just be doing the same thing. So now we're doing the same thing. The lessons go through and tell me exactly what I need to say and do. So I really don't have any prep work. It's very open and go, which I greatly appreciate. There's also extra activities for older kids and things like that, so I can really cater it to exactly where each of my kids are. For now, we're having no trouble doing both my kids at exactly the same level, which is fantastic. And it also comes with this great book of maps and images, which is just fantastic and really helps to enhance what we are doing with each of these lessons. So we're pulling out these beautiful maps and things like that, which I just love. So these are really beautiful visuals, and I'm not having to bring up a computer screen in the middle of a lesson or look at a tiny little map in a book. Like, it's right here in this beautiful, beautiful book. So that is history, and we have been loving it. Okay, so another one of the core subjects that we have been using with the good and the beautiful that we switched over is the science. So the science with our old curriculum was something that I struggled with a little bit as well. Again, I had both of my kids doing totally different science things, and so it was kind of like double the work. Now I can have them all doing the same thing together, which is fantastic. And science in particular was a place where our worldview of a God-created earth was kind of an issue for me. Most of the time, it was just like a secular, this is the way it is, science, 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 which is great. I love science, but we also do believe that God created the world and everything in it. That is our view. So it is really nice to have the good and the beautiful science that shares that worldview. And they actually end up bringing it up a lot, where they'll say things like, look around at God's beautiful creation. Do you notice this? And then dive into a lesson on whatever it is that we're learning about today. And I just think that's so fantastic, because anytime that I can bring that into our school, I just think is fantastic. And that's kind of what we do in our life. So it makes sense that we would do it in our school as well. So the science comes just in single sheets because there's like a whole lot to it. So I have moved it all into this binder. So again, it's telling me exactly what I need to prepare for the lesson, which is not much. It's very open and go. It's so fantastic. There were a few parts where I did just cut out a New Testament Bible verse that did not align with our religious views. And that was no problem because the pages are only printed on one side. So it was very easy to just remove that and go on about. But you can see I'm still including things like God designed both living and non-living things to interact with each other. Like, yeah, that's our worldview. I just didn't need the Bible verse there also. The lessons are really beautiful and colorful, and they're even incorporating beautiful artwork into the lesson, which I just love, because anytime we can work in some fine art into the lesson is fantastic. And it has these little mini books that the kids and I can read together. We've done a lot of our science lessons just outside, which has been so much fun. There's also a lot of really fun hands-on activities, so my kids can really have a tangible experience to understand what it is that we are learning about in our lessons. And it also comes with these beautiful definitions that we will put up on our science wall, which is really the back of my door here in my study, to help continue reinforcing everything that we've been learning about. So yes, this science has been a huge hit with my kids. They absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Things that I'm loving in particular are, again, that worldview that we share, that God created the world and how that's incorporated into the science. And then the open and go aspect of it, just like with the history, I really, really love. And then any materials that I need outside of the lesson have all been things that I have around the house. They're very simple things. I'm not having to go out and buy anything extra. So I really love that about it as well. And then again, this is just a really beautiful curriculum. I love the way that it looks. It's very visually nice for me to look at as the instructor. And then of course for my kids as well, it's very visually engaging for them. And I absolutely love that. So they love all of our science lessons. All right, the next core subject that we changed was math. Okay, so our math that we had been doing before was on the computer. It was entirely on the computer, which worked out fine at first. And I love that I didn't have to really be involved in the math. It was like somebody else was doing it for me. But I was really starting to see the issues with doing math on the computer. For one thing, my older son was struggling more with writing out his numbers because he wasn't practicing that. So that became an issue for me pretty quickly, and I didn't want to see that with my daughter as well as she was advancing in her math. And I also felt like I wasn't as involved. I didn't really know where they were at. I was getting these progress reports, but at the same time, I had noticed that sometimes my kids were sort of scraping by on certain parts of the lessons, and it was just passing them through because they had done enough. However, math is a subject that really needs to build on itself, and I need to know that my kids understand everything before we're moving on to the next topic in math. So, the good and the beautiful math. We've switched over to that, and oh my gosh, you guys, this is amazing. This is probably my favorite part of all our curriculum is the math, and my kids really, really love it too, which is great because my kids don't tend to love math so much. So the first one that I had purchased was Math 3 for my son because he is in 3rd grade, so that puts him on to the level 3. So that comes with the book, and then it comes with this math box. Inside of the math box, you've got a dry erase board here on one side of the lid, and then you've got this other dry erase board inside with some different things with dates and weather and graphs. And then it's got a bunch of these little magnetic shapes. He's got his own tape measure. He's got some dice and several different kinds of dice, including some cool ones for things like quartz pints, things like that. And then some little game pieces because there's a lot of games in this curriculum, which I think is so great. So does my son. Okay, so let's take a look at a lesson. Okay, so I just opened up to a random lesson. So it starts with kind of a little review, and then it goes in and again gives you instructions, read to the child. So you just start reading out loud, and then you go start doing the work together, learning the actual like meat of the lesson. And you can see we've got these really just beautiful pictures on the pages, which again makes it a really visually stimulating lesson for the kids, which is so fantastic. And then you go into, after you've learned the lesson, you've got your lesson practice. So this is the part where I'll just sit with my son while he will work on his lesson practice on his own. And then we'll come in here to the review activities where it works in sort of a spiral to bring back things that we've learned in the past so that he is not forgetting anything and those concepts are continuing to be reinforced. And so again, all of this section here, he's working with on his own. So all I'm doing with him is this section right here. But then I'll sit with him while he's working on this in case he has any questions. And then you just move on to the next lesson. So my son has really been enjoying that math, and I really enjoy it with him because we're working together on it. I really have an understanding of exactly where he is in his math. He really enjoys the way that this is structured and set up. And then of course, so that means that I really enjoy it as well. Again, I love that it's just open and go, that I'm not having to sit around and prepare lessons. I just have to know, like every day that we have school, we do another lesson in the math book. Very simple. I also really like the spiral method where they're introducing the new subject matter. We're doing that lesson together. He's practicing that on his own, and then he's going in and doing the review of some of the other things that we have learned in the past so that he's not forgetting anything. And again, those concepts are continually being reinforced for him. So I can stay very confident in exactly where he is at math and that he still has an understanding. He's not just forgetting things. He's not just memorizing it for the moment. Like, he really understands these concepts, and he can continue to show me that he understands these concepts. So I love that. Pretty much anything that I just said about my son's math there at level 3, I could again say here for the level 1 math that my daughter is doing. I will show you quickly what she has. So her math box is larger. She has a clock here on the front because she does a lot of learning telling time so far. Inside of her math box, she also has a collection of shapes. She has also a couple of dice, some pretend money, a collection of these little boats which have been used for game pieces and counting all kinds of different things, and some little clocks again with the telling time. And then with both of these math boxes, we have added for my kids some dry erase markers and some regular pens to write in for their lessons. All right, let me show you a quick lesson of hers so you can just see that it is structured the same way. Okay, so again, this is just a random lesson that I have open to. So again, we start with the same thing, just kind of, sort of a reviewing, making sure that she's still understanding, and then going through to the actual lesson. So like this gives us the instructions here, like to get out the whiteboard and the dry erase marker, take a boat from the math box, and then going on and continuing with the lesson. And then we've got a fun game here. They love the games. And then she comes in here to a review of what she has been learning. And that's the end of her lesson. So this lesson was just a quick 2-page lesson for her. So again, all the same things that I said about my son's math, I could say about my daughter's math. We love it. It's great. She super enjoys it, which is fantastic because she loved math before, but I'm pretty sure she loves math even more now, which I really, really love. All right, there were just a couple of electives that we also snagged. So one of them, I grabbed this drawing book. So it's just like a step-by-step drawing book for the kids. So we do drawing lessons as part of our school, and this has been perfect. I'm no longer having to go and find things online. I can just open this book and go. And I love that they're very simple drawings. My kids are really enjoying each of them. Even my 4-year-old are having fun doing the drawings from these books. So that's really, really fantastic. We have found no religious content in this book. All right, the other elective that we also got were the handwriting books. So I got handwriting level 1 for my daughter, handwriting level 2 for my son, because level 3 goes up into cursive, but I wanted him to work more on his print first. And then, not to leave out my 4-year-old, we got the doodles and pre-writing book for my youngest. So for the doodles and pre-writing, it's just basically it's kind of tracing shapes and things like that. I really don't even want him writing letters right now because he is only 4. That's just a personal preference on my end. So this doodle book I have found to be perfect for him. Here in the handwriting level 1 book, something that I absolutely love about the handwriting books, this is what I really got these books for, was the fact that it had the arrows here to show exactly how to create the letters. That was something that I found lacking in a lot of other handwriting programs. It was more just tracing things and not showing how to properly construct the letters. So this becomes a lot more open and go for me, where I can just tell the kids, you're going to do this page today, and I want you to remember to focus on the arrows, and then I can just be there in the room and just sort of make sure that they are following the arrows the way that they're supposed to, and then practicing in the same way. And then there's usually some sort of a doodly thing to go along with that, which just helps with those fine motor skills that you need for handwriting. And then the level 2 book is very similar, but you're gonna have just a bit more going on, and kind of, again, you've got some like coloring and drawing practice. Sometimes it's copying a picture or something like that, but it's, again, just to keep working on those muscles in a really fun way. Okay, now lastly, The Good and the Beautiful also has a publishing arm where they are publishing their own books. So these are so much fun for our reading practice. So these are some books that I got for my daughter. So they have just, kind of more at her level as she is advancing in her reading enough to be reading on her own. What I love is that she can have a book like this that's actually like a book with, a lot of pages. So she can really get a sense for reading something besides like a board book. And then for my son, more of a chapter book, which is great. And he's really enjoying the stories in these books as well. So my son is using these books right now for his reading time while I'm working on the learning to read aspects with my daughter. They also have some really great nonfiction books, like this awesome reptile book, which is just chock full of information, poetry. We love our poetry. And this nature reader here, which we find to be just so incredibly fantastic. It's just a brilliant book filled with, again, with so much information for my nature loving kids. So that's kind of where we're at right now with our curriculum. We are loving The Good and the Beautiful. We are loving the way that we're able to incorporate so much of our learning together as a family. That just makes my day. It's shortened our school day significantly from the beginning of the school year, which is also fantastic. I feel like I'm so much more hands-on with my kids. I am so much more hands-on with my kids, but with less work on my part, which is, I guess, every homeschool mom's dream. So I'm definitely more in tune with what my kids know right now. I'm more in tune with what information that they're taking in. And I think it's such a great program, and it has just fit in so beautifully with our lives. As you saw in the science, there have been a few things that I've had to remove that just didn't align with our religious beliefs. However, the overall feel of the curriculum definitely does align with our beliefs. And I really, really love that. I hadn't realized how much that would mean to me coming from the secular curriculum into this God-focused curriculum, like how much more I would love that. And I'm sad that I put it off as long as I did. So I will leave a link to the Good and the Beautiful's website in the description box below. They have a lot of samples that you can download, really complete samples that you can really see what's involved in these curriculums. I highly recommend them. They are fantastic. They've been wonderful for our family. They've been wonderful for me as the educator, and they've really reshaped our homeschool to be more of what I had always dreamed homeschool would be like. So I can't say enough good things about them, and I am so happy to be able to come on and share with you guys today. And sorry that it took so long for me to get on and share with you about it, but like I said, I wanted to make sure that we use them for a few months, that I could be positive this was something that our family loved and not just something that I thought was cool that we were going to change our mind about soon. We're not changing our mind. We super love it. I've already got stuff to use for next year. I can't wait. It's great. It's totally working for us, and I hope that it works for you guys too. Okay, thank you all so much for watching today. I super appreciate you as always. Drop me a note in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of this curriculum. I would love to get that conversation started with you. And please be sure to give this video a like if you did enjoy it. I would super appreciate that. Helps my channel out a lot and lets me know what kinds of content you all like to see. And last but not least, of course, please hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my future videos. I would love to see you here again. And with that, I'm going to call this video a close. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in my next upload. Curriculums also, because there were things in secular curriculum, because there are things.
Are you done?
Not yet.
But I want you to be done.
I will be soon. Enter the good and the beautiful history. Enter the good and the beautiful. Not forgetting anything. And again, those concepts are continually being